Hey everybody, wanted to give you an update. Basically, I've got the entire wing set up now so I can plug it all together. Let me make sure I can get the whole wing in here. So there's the one wall of my garage. And there's the garage door side, so it barely fits in here. And it's a big ass wing, everybody. I'm super excited how it's turning out. So what I'm going to try to do today is I've got to build a harness for the center section of the wing that has the two S-bus networks inside it. I may also run a couple of just regular extra servo wires in there in case I need to run something somewhere else in the airplane. Keep in mind, on each of my receivers, I have around 7 or 14 actual outlets, or I shouldn't say outlets, channels that I can access without using the network. Depending on which receiver I'm using, and I'll show you those receivers later on. But right now I just want to get the center section made. One neat thing about this camera is it does have a lens adapter that will let me kind of do, it's not telephoto, but more of a microscopic or getting close to do things. So when I build these harnesses and build the connectors and everything with the pins, I may do a video on that. So right now you can see in the middle the 10 gauge big honking ass wire that's used for the motors. Fore and aft, but it's got tractors and pushers, and hopefully by tonight. Now I do have to prepare to. I got to go out of town for 4 days for business, so I got to kind of prepare for that trip tomorrow because I spend my Sundays traveling to where I'm going to work on Monday, Tuesday, and come home Wednesday. So hopefully by the end of the day or maybe tonight, we'll be able to see me test and make sure all the servos are doing what they're supposed to do. One thing to keep in mind, though, many of these servos are not actually hooked up to an aileron or a flap or their actual, flying device, right? I mean, they're control surfaces right now, but we'll be able to test and see the servos are actually working the right way. So that's pretty much it for now. So I'm going to make 5 or 6 of these videos today and then dump it into one big video and post it later tonight. So thanks for watching my videos, everybody. Have an awesome day and talk soon. Okay, everybody, what we're going to do right now is make some servo connectors. I've got my camera really zoomed in here far just to show you some of this. Now, you're kind of looking at this upside down from the way I'm working because I got the camera on the other side from me, but you're still going to be able to see what I'm doing. So this is what a servo connector looks like, as you all know. And what I've got to do is I'm going to splice some wire together here. So I'm going to splice these two ends together and then take this end here together. But I got to shrink tube all of this, but what I've got to do first is put connectors on the ends of these. Okay, so if I want to put this type of connector on right here, we're going to go through what it takes to do that. Now, I may stop and start the film here some just to get myself organized here, so if that happens, I apologize. And also, sometimes my video, because the type of SD card I've got will stop, and I need to restart it. So, what I'm going to start with is take this wire. I just use my fingernails and strip off about 1.5 millimeters. Maybe 2 millimeters of the insulation. Okay, I'm going to kind of coil her up like that. Okay. Hanson Hobbies makes a neat kit that comes with all these little connectors here. Make sure that's focused. But this is the connector right here that lives inside this plug. Okay. So I've got the handy crimping tool. And what I do is Put that connector in like this. Whoops, like that. Okay. Barely hold it in there like that. Now what you want to do here is you want to get the insulation to slide in there a little bit, and that kind of becomes your strain relief, okay? So you want to get that to go in there just a little bit farther, like that, okay? Then we're going to crimp it, pop it out. That right there, ladies and gentlemen, is how you put that connector on the end, okay? Now, it will sometimes deform it a little bit, put a little bit of a curve in it, and that's fine. You can take either nail, nose, or your fingers and straighten it back out. But that's how you do one connector. Grab another one here. Place it in just like that. Hopefully you can see that. I'm going to hold it in there a little bit. 2 clicks is all it needs to hold it in there. Want to make sure there's no little hairs sticking up off that wire. This is actually hard to do so you can see it, but it's working. So I want to push this in so that the insulation is just barely into the connector. Okay. Just like that. See that little bit of a curve there? It's no big deal. You can just bend it so it's straight. Okay. We're going to take this connector, 2 clicks, holds it in there just like that. You're going to slide that in so the insulation goes in just about 1 millimeter. And if you look, you can see you got your insulation inside that strain relief, and then the rest of the wire is crimped here. Okay, and that's how you properly put that together. Now, I'm out of my black connectors are really low, so I'm going to use a red connector. I always take the servo to verify that I'm doing this right. So with the connector basically facing upwards, the black is, well, red's always middle no matter what. So remember that red is always the middle. The reason you do that is if you accidentally reverse the polarity, you're not putting the hot on anything that's going to burn anything up. So I'm going to look at this again, and okay, the black is going to be away from me, which is the negative. Okay, and all I'm doing is sliding it in here so it clicks into that little thing right there. Now, if you're really careful, you can take an X-Acto knife and pop that back apart if you ever needed to take it apart. You can see that middle one hasn't clicked down. Hang on a minute. See, that middle one did not go in all the way. So if it doesn't, and now it's flat. Okay. So it popped in all the way. So let's put in the last one. And you can microscopically hear it kind of click, if microscopic sound is a word. But that is the connector made correctly. It's on a loose end, which will make, basically this is going to be a gigantic Y harness for one of the 2 S-bus circuits. So what I'm going to do now is stop the film and come back in a minute, and we're going to do the other end, and I'll show you how that works. Okay, everybody, we're back, and what I'm going to do now is put connectors on the end of this Y harness I'm making for my S-bus system. So on this one, we have to get, hang on, I'm getting my parts out right now. We have to get these little pins that are the male end of the plug, and this is what they look like. Okay. I'm still getting used to my camera. My camera has a function where I can get in real close to stuff, but that's what the connector looks like. It's going to go inside this. Okay, so I get my crimping tool ready, and just like the other ones, I'm going to slightly put it up in here like this. Okay, I'm going to give it 2 clicks to hold it in place for me. I want to take the wire, and I actually made a little bit of a mistake here. On the end here, you only want these to be about 1.5 millimeters long, and I made these long like the parts that I'm going to solder. So I'm going to take my cutters and trim off the end there. Where's my other cutter at? Okay. Because what you don't want is having too much of the wire and not enough of the insulator to work as the strain relief. So what I'm going to do now is take this wire, and like we did before, we want to just push it in so a little bit of the insulation is inside the pin, the part you crimp, so you end up like that. Sorry guys, the camera is technically facing me, so it's upside down to you all what I'm doing, but it should make sense what I'm doing here. I'm wondering where my other cutters went, because I had 2 cutters out here and I can't find my other cutters. Oh well, that's fine. So we'll get another pin, and I'm not going to make you sit through me making all these. I'm just going to make up one on the video here for you. Whoops, I'm putting that one in backwards. I'm not even paying attention to what I'm doing here. So I'm going to get that in there like that. Okay. You can see that okay. Just like that. I think I'll take the red one now. It doesn't matter when you're making these which ones you do first. So we're going to try to get that in there, so that a little bit of the insulation's in there. Okay, you can see insulation's in there, and it crimped the wire also. Okay. 2 clicks. Put that in there, so just a little bit of insulation's in there. The insulation, okay, see, just like that. Okay, now if this gets bent a little bit, you can straighten it out, but they don't bend that much. But you do want them to be as straight as you can so they'll go into the connector correctly. So now I'm going to take this. I know that this is going to plug in like this, okay, because this is going to have the jacket thing over it. So red always goes in the middle. Okay. And most of the time they'll just slide in and click, like that one went in perfect. But if you have to, sometimes you can grab the pin here, pull it on through if you need to. If you do that, be very careful. Use like a pair of needle nose or something. Don't use your dikes to do it, because you can cut off the end of that pin pretty easy, and it doesn't work. Okay. So since it's plugging in like that, black is going to be nearest me on this pin. I always grab a servo to double check, even though I've memorized most of this. Your brain gets confused for some reason. And when your brain gets confused, you screw up. And then I'll put the white one into the remaining one. Okay, and it went right in and clicked. Now I grab one of these. Now you need to look at the orientation of this thing because there are little clasps or little like notches in there that will lock into this piece right here. Okay, so you've got to make sure you orient it. These little open parts right here actually lock. So listen to this. Okay, it locked in. So there's your male connector. I always do a test fit and double check that I didn't reverse any polarities. You always want red in the middle, people. If you put the red on the outside of one of them and you plug it into your system, you're going to burn up a servo or a receiver. So there. And that's how we make it. Okay, so I've got 3 more of these to make. I'm not going to make you watch them on the video. So I will be back in a little bit once I've got these harnesses made, and we will put them into the wing. Okay, everybody, I put my lenses back on the way they're supposed to be put on. So you understand this, and I'm going to solder them up here and show you. But basically, this is going to be one. Okay, this cable I made that has the red plug on the end and has the open ends will end up being soldered in to these sets of wires. That is basically a big twofer, okay, or I mean a big Y connector, and it will have the connectors on the end for the rest of the S-Bus system. So what I think I'm going to do now is solder these up. No, I'm going to go ahead and put the connectors on. So what I'll do is I'll come back in a little bit and we'll solder these up, and I might use my zoom in lens because I tell you I'm really enjoying what this camera is doing, and I'm really starting to get it figured out. So what I'll do is it's going to take me about 10 minutes to make the rest of these connectors, and then I'll come back, change it back to the other lens so we can zoom in and kind of watch how I solder this. And look, if you're really proficient at soldering, just skip this part of the video, but if you're not, you might get something out of it. Rock on, everybody. I'll be back.